Stories have become the buzzword these days. Stories narrated by grandparents, parents, neighbors, teachers, friends, and co workers. Stories in marketing, in boardrooms, in research, in medicine, stories are everywhere. Telling a good story is a sought after skill. So, what is it about stories that enchants us? Why are stories so powerful? That is what we will break down today in Sense Making of Stories. Hi, I'm Rohini Abhyankar, the host of this episode of Something Old, Something New. The very first story I heard is the story of a sparrow and a crow, a chew and a cow, as they are called in baby language in my mother tongue Marathi. Many of us know the story. With the crow's nest made of cow dung and sparrow's nest made of wax, the crow's nest gets washed away in a big rainstorm and the sparrow's nest remains intact as it floats on water. That is the story. Yes, that's it. The first lesson for many of us. When we think about it, we realize that it's a powerful teaching and learning tool for kids as young as a year old. It develops trust as the child is in close vicinity of the storyteller, building comfort, security, and trust. Stories have a capacity to engage all types of learners. Research shows that about 40% are visual learners. They see the chew cow around them. They weave their own images. The second group is the auditory learners, again, making about 40% of all of us. They learn from hearing the tone, the words, the voice of the narrator. And the remaining 20%, the kinesthetic learners, learn as they enact the story, the rain, the washed away nest with their hand gestures. As the child gains language skills, the narration pattern changes. It becomes a joint venture with the narrator saying half the sentence and the young learner completing the rest, learning the words and the sentence structures in the process. We see here how a child may learn through this simple story while bonding with the parent, visualizing the world, vocalizing the words, and learning on multiple layers. As we grow old, stories become complex, allowing the listener to enter at their own level. This makes the listener more receptive to what is related in the story. The Eidgah story, written by renowned Hindi novelist Munshi Premchand, is a classic example, one of my favorites. It's a story of Hamid, a 4-year-old orphan living with his poor grandmother Amina. In the story, Amina sends Hamid to the Eidgah, a village square where Eid is celebrated with food and gift stalls, with a mere 5 paise as spending money that she has saved over a long period of time. Hamid returns home with a pair of iron tongs and while returning brags about his tongs to his rich friends and outsmarts them into loaning out his tongs in exchange for their toys. Amina's initial disappointment on seeing the iron tongs turns to emotional gratitude when she learns that Hamid bought the tongs for her so her fingers won't burn while making rotis, bread, over an open flame. When I first read this story, this beautiful story, it was narrated to me by my 7th grade Hindi teacher. It was narrated to the entire class. I resonated with Hamid. When I narrated this story to my children, I resonated with the story as a parent. And when I reread it recently, I saw an Amina in all of us. The point is that stories allow the reader to enter at their own level and experience the multiple layers of complex emotions. Stories transfer information via multiple parallel channels as they involve the brain and the heart because the listener makes an emotional connection. The emotional connection makes it easy to remember the facts, the gist, and the lessons in the story. Let's take a corporate example. At company A, the leader presents the financial results for the quarter. At company B, the leader tells a rich story about what went into the win that put the quarter over the top. Company A employees come away with the meeting knowing that they made the numbers. Company B employees learned about an effective strategy in which sales, marketing, and product development came together to secure a major deal. Employees now have new knowledge, new thinking to draw upon. They have been influenced, they have learned. Stories teach us ethics, values, culture, and much more. Let me illustrate with another example. This is a well known story about two monks and a woman. The story goes like this: a senior monk and a junior monk are traveling together. At one point, they come to a river with a strong current. As the monks are preparing to cross the river, they see a very young and beautiful woman also attempting to cross. The young woman asks them if they could help her cross to the other side. The two monks glance at each other because they have vowed not to touch a woman. And without a word, the older monk picks up the woman, carries her across the river, places her gently on the other side, and moves on with his journey. The younger monk cannot believe what he has just witnessed. After rejoining his companion, he remains speechless for a few hours, but not bearing the storm in his head, blurts out, "As monks, we are not permitted to touch a woman. How could you then carry that woman on your shoulders?" The older monk looks at him and replies, "Brother, I set her down on the other side of the river. Why are you still carrying her?" The best part about listening to stories is our defense shields do not go up. In any other situation, we either justify or defend our actions or clam up when we are corrected or criticized. It takes work to take or receive criticism in a positive light. It is different with stories. Here we are a fly on the wall and can course correct if we find ourselves off track. We are open to the lessons in the story because it is not about us. Stories are not about dry facts. They are relatable. They are juicy. They are about us. Rahul Sankrityayan was an Indian mega scholar, a polymath, a polyglot, has written many books. Among his numerous books are two award winning volumes on the history, migration, civilization of Middle Asia. On realizing that the knowledge in his volumes was not reaching the common folks, he created fictional stories based on the historical facts, weaving in emotion and day to day lives of common people. The book, titled Volga to Ganga, became so popular that it was translated in many languages and reached the masses. There are different types of stories. There are mythical stories that live for centuries, such as the stories from Ramayana and Mahabharata. Stories live on when they are told and retold. Consider this for a moment. All writers tell us that as they write, their characters direct the story themselves after a certain point. Stories are powerful. If one person's thoughts can produce a powerful story, imagine the power when, for centuries, people tell and retell stories like Ramayana and Mahabharata. Another purpose stories serve is they lay the foundation for our belief in the supernatural. We all know that there is much more to this world than what meets the eye, than what can be captured by our scientific instruments. We all have heard or experienced miracles in our own right. All doctors tell us that they treat a patient, but it's only God or nature or universe or the supreme being that cures them. We know that modern science can explain only a fraction of the mysteries of the universe. And mythological stories, stories about mysticism, fairy tales, all lay the foundation for that belief that there is something beyond our understanding. Such is the magic of stories, from being a powerful teaching learning tool to providing pure entertainment to making us see the limitedness of modern science. Today is Mahashivratri. a time when we celebrate the Shiva principle. On this occasion, I'll move to the conclusion of this episode by narrating the story behind the yoga pose of Matsyendrasana. One day, Shiva, the Adi Yogi, the first yogi, was asked by Parvati, his consort, to reveal the knowledge of yoga to her. He did not want to narrate it where any unworthy listener may get hold of it. So Shiva and Parvati descended to a cave under the ocean, and Shiva narrated the secrets of yoga to Parvati. Right outside of the cave, there was a fish who sat very, very still and absorbed all the knowledge that was related by Shiva to Parvati. Shiva realized that the fish had acquired all the knowledge, came out, blessed the fish by bestowing the title of Matsyendra, the kingfish, on him, and tasked him with spreading the knowledge of yoga on the earth. The second yogi was born. The pose in which Matsyendra sat so still is the Matsyendrasana or the kingfish pose, one of the poses in Hatha Yoga. A pose that calms the mind and allows the yogi to listen to the Shiva principle residing within each one of us. So, if stories evoke imagery, are all about visualization, relating to the tone and the voice of the narrator, then the obvious question is, are movies and multimedia digital presentations going to replace the great art and need for storytelling? I don't believe so. The movies show us what the director sees. The music, the vivid digital, better than life imagery makes us, the viewer, a passive observer. The level of engagement may not be the same as when a narrator narrates and leaves the other embellishments for the listener to procure. The vicinity with the narrator creates a cocoon of intimacy, trust, and a safe zone. It is the magic of Upanishads. The Sanskrit term Upanishad, Upa meaning by, and Nishad means to sit down, translates to sitting down near, referring to the student sitting down near the teacher while receiving the knowledge, the spiritual knowledge. That magic cannot be replaced by digital virtual media. No, I don't believe storytelling can or will ever be replaced. That's it for today. The references used for this narration are given below if you want to read further. If you like the thoughts summarized and presented here, please leave me a comment and share the link with your network. Keep listening to and narrating the stories. Till next time, this is Rohini.